Hello, and welcome to episode 50 of What If Civilization Started Over. Let's get into it. So, welcome to the second half of World War II. And, lots of things happened last episode. Yeah, like this. But let's continue the fighting. So the fighting is going to continue in France, where red team troops are going to get really close to the capital of France, until French troops start to push back down south and invade into the yellow team, the lime yellow team thing here, and they will completely invade this thing and use this as a staging ground to take a bunch of their southern areas, which is going to cause some red team troops to pull back, which will cause some of these areas to fall, and also some of these areas to fall as well. And now the French are getting pretty close to the red team capital, as they're almost about or trying to encircle it. Yeah. If we look at the blue team frontier, we can see that the blue team is pushing back greatly in the purple team, but in Bulgaria, they're losing ground over here. Yeah, it's not going well. In Iran, the Iranians are able to push back the fascist rebellion a bit, like this, and are able to push them back to about this level, and are also able to push back the green team a little bit. Yeah. Then the Iranians will do a very, very big push into the green team, which they start by recapturing the blue team capital, again, for the billionth time, and will continue to do this push. They will take this huge northern area and take this part of the pink team, and they actually take the whole pink team and get pretty close to getting the yellow team capital. That is a pretty big push, I would say. And this is going to cause the Chinese to push back a little bit and take out the red team as well. And because of this, they're able to push back all the way to here. And with troops being surrounded, with Chinese troops coming from the north, the red team is able to kick the pink team out of this area. Also partially because of this, they're pushing greatly in India. If we go over here in Arabia, this rebellion is able to do great damage to the Arabian country, and they're able to fully take it out. And then the Iranians will start to push in, and are able to take out the rebellion. Like that. Yeah. If we go back up to Israel, Israel is actually able to push back in the Sinai Peninsula all the way back to the Suez Canal area. Israel is also being pushed back greatly by Iraq, Iran, and their capital is almost taken, like that. So the current state of this war is not looking too well for some countries, kind of well for others. Let's go to South Africa now, because this colony of South Africa declares independence from South Africa. No. Ireland. There. And also, the Iberian colony in Western Australia declares independence from Iberia. Like this. Yeah. And also some more areas in Ireland will be declaring independence from Ireland. Like that. And these rebellions are going to be a pretty big distraction for the Triangle Alliance, which will help with the red team pushing back the French. Yeah, like that. If we go back over here, the green team is almost fully kicked out of existence, as they'll push back all the way to here. And the purple team is also being pushed into, but they still can't stop the incoming push of India. They can't stop it. And then the Fascist Rebellion is going to continue getting more and more popular in this area, and it is able to take over a pretty big area over here. The Russians are all actually and also able to push back the Iranians a little, and the Israelis are able to push back the Russians in the Turkish front. Not like that. The Turkish fronts, and so will Bulgaria. And they will actually kick Russia all the way out of Turkey, like this. There. And, yeah, this is what the war looks like. If we go back to the South African colony, Iberian troops will continue to push into South Africa to try and liberate it. And so will French troops. The French troops are doing the most successful because there's more of them. Iberia is more spread out, but France is mostly situated over in, yeah, they take that. The Iberians are also able to push greatly into this rebellion and are able to push it back pretty far, only to the Uruguay area. Over here, though, the Iberians are having trouble making a landing on the Western Australia rebellion, as you're kind of an entire ocean away. You have to bring your troops all the way across like that, or like that, or like that, or like this. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can get there, but it's just kind of hard for them. Yeah. And then the Bulgarians are going to decide that they need Egypt. Egypt is one of the places they colonized, not the main part, but they are going to make a landing in Egypt in order to attempt and kick the Iberians out of Egypt. And they take the coastlines pretty successfully. And with Israeli help, with help from the Bulgarians, the Israelis will be helping, and we'll be able to go over the Suez Canal. And this front, yeah, it falls. In Egypt, the main core territories of Egypt are taken. And now Bulgarian and Purple Team troops are going down the Nile, like this. Yeah. And, lots of stuff happening. If we go over to the Purple Team here, the Purple Team is going to be fighting France in this area like this. They're going to be pushing them back a little bit. And the Red Team is making a spearhead to try and cut France off, but it's going successfully. But also, kind of not. Yeah. This front here, the Yellow Team capital is actually encircled, like this, by the Iranians. But then, yeah, they get pushed back. And this huge front that was made to try and get the Iranian capital has failed, and now the Green Team is pushing back to get the Blue Team capital again, and now they occupy a lot of territory again, and the Orange Team is also able to push back the Iranians greatly, like this. The reason that happens is because they are pushing back in India. They see India as a threat now, and they're pushing back greatly in this front, like this. If we look at the East Asian front, with the Green Team now occupying this area, the Yellow Team is able to push back China a pretty big amount, about to here. And this front currently is stalemated. And this front here, the Red Team is able to puncture into this defense of the Pink Team, which is going to cause some troops from India to pull out, which is going to cause the Iranians to push all the way into India because there's no troops there. But they will keep Sri Lanka as a staging ground. Yeah. And with this, the Pink Team is going to push greatly into the Red Team and puncture through their impenetrable fence, and is going to go around the Hong Kong country. I don't know why it's like that. It's supposed to be like that. Go around the Hong Kong country and getting really close to their capital on Taiwan. That is a pretty big push, which is going to cause the Chinese to pull some troops out of this area to go help them. And with that, this happens, and they were able to push greatly back the fascists. And with these troops surviving, the pink team is going to be pushed all the way back to here, and it still made it again. With help from the Chinese, the red team is being pushed back greatly, and the fascists aren't really giving too much help to it. So the blue team will come in and take their capital. And with this push, the yellow team, which is the ruler of the fascist alliance, and one of the reasons why they're so strong, is going to give responsibility of this area to the pink team for some reason. They haven't done much. So they're giving responsibility of ownership to it. Great. But the pink team is losing against the blue team. But the pink team with the yellow team help is also pushing back the green team. So the red country's gone. Yeah, that's great. And with some more troops surviving here, this happens. And now, these people are pushing back greatly in India and the southern parts. And, well, the pink team is also pushing and making more landings in India, taking this entire coastline. Like that. And then, something else happens. Another big rebellion, in a way. Not that big. Another big rebellion in Arabia. The green team, seeing this, is going to push into it to try and take Iranian territory. And so will Yemen. The new Yemen. And with Iranian troops coming to take it, they will be able to fully take it out. And, yeah, it's looking sort of good. But also not good at the same time because Iran is having many logistical failures in the eastern area and is being pushed back greatly on all fronts. It's not looking good as they're pushed back close to their core territory and more troops are arriving in India and pushing back the Iranians greatly. Iran's military has been defeated. Their morale is low, and their military is almost gone. The fighting in India, almost the whole Iran military has died fighting in India or the yellow team. Iran is pushed back to this level. And with this, the Israelis are able to make very, very big gains into Iranian territory. In Yemen is also able to push in. And so is the green team. And the Arabian rebellion starts again and takes over this huge, not that big, this area. And that is not good for Iran. If we go back to Egypt, the Bulgarians are able to make huge gains in Egypt as they will take over this huge area here. And the purple team is going to make landings in Carthage again. Once again. Yeah. They're going to be pushing in as they will be pushing into their old colonies. Which is pretty successful because the Iberians' armies were also thin. Because many of them are trying to get back this territory. As if they don't take back this territory, they see that it might spark rebellions in all the other colonies. Yeah, and this is taken out. If we go over to the red team frontier, the French are pushing back. Do you know why? Because Russia was giving much help to the red team to take out the Triangle Alliance, but now they're focused on Iran and helping the blue team. So the French are able to push back greatly. But the red team is able to make a landing in the British Isles. They're able to take this pretty big British Isles chunk and are attempting to take over the entire Britain. Yeah, that's something. If we go back to, this area, specifically the Irish colony, this Irish colony will be declaring independence. This giant Irish colony. Like that. And yeah. And the Irish, not wanting to fight this, are going to give responsibility to all of the colonies that they own to Iberia. Okay. And with the Iberian troops on almost all sides, they will be able to push back this rebellion greatly. This rebellion will fall shortly after it both. Yeah. But this little excursion thing, maybe not excursion, but like operation, that to try to get Iberian troops into this area at the same pace that Irish troops are getting out of the area, is trying to gonna cause this. Yeah, like that. And the purple team is also able to push back the Iberians almost to their core African area, like this. Now if we go to Britain, Irish troops are arriving in Britain, and they're able to kick the red team out of the British Isles, almost. They're able to keep on to this tiny area though. But the red team, also from there, goes from the capital region to here. We'll make a landing here to try and take the French capital quickly, and then make a landing in Cornwall. And this Cornwall invasion is going to help with pushing them back greatly. And then they do the unthinkable. They make a landing on the island of Ireland. Hundreds of thousands of Irish troops are put on this. Hundreds of thousands of red team troops are put here. And they are pushing into Ireland greatly. The Irish will ask the Iberians if they can take occupation of all of the Irish colonies. And because they know, if the red team were to, take the capital and Ireland surrender, the red team will get all of the colonies that the Irish own. That could be a lot of colonies, and probably be really hard to see. So they are going to give the occupation to Ireland, to the Iberians. And now we can see that the whole South American colony of Ireland is now, Iberian, like this. And if we go to the north, the French will actually be taking occupation of all this area up north, including Iceland and Greenland and all this area. They will decide to give the occupation to here, like this. If I can color it in correctly, like that, and Iceland. Maybe, yeah. So now, Ireland has lost their colonies. But if we go over to wrong color, if we go over to Iberia, the Iberians are finally able to make a massive invasion into Western Australia. And with all these troops arriving, the Western Australians will be pushed back almost all the way to the northern area. Then they will be able to they surrender, like that. Now it's time to talk about the red team. But why would we be talking about the red team out of all countries? Well, there's something going on with this. The red team, for a while now, has been continuing a project for ever since their empire first formed. This project is called Project Annihilation. This project's goal was to develop 10 nuclear bombs and launch them on the capitals of Ireland, France, Iberia, Rome, Bulgaria, Israel, and Iran. And how far is that project going so far? It's going good. Now the red team has 5 nuclear bombs ready to be used at any time during this war. The Bulgarians will also be pushing greatly into Russia. They were able to push back and take a pretty big chunk of their territory, and are able to push into the Ukraine area because the Russians have had logistical failures here, but they haven't had logistical failures in Iran until they do, because Iran is pushing back in Russia. Now it's time to talk about Iran again. We need to talk about Iran because Iran has started something great for them. They have started a sort of plan. They have a plan to convince people to join the military of Iran. So one day, in the heights of this war, the Iranian dictator will go out to his capital, to his country, to speak. Hello, dear fellow citizens, and armies, and navies, and air forces. I present to you our country. We need help. Iran, as a country, is falling. We need your help. The civilians. You. Help fight for a great empire. Let it survive this war. Let it survive. Let the great empire of Iran flourish. We are the empire. We need our empire to survive. Take down the fascist rebellion used in the entirety of the fascist and communist fronts. Help in India, Central Asia, the Yellow Team, anything. Join our country now. Fight for our empire. That was his speech. And this will convince millions of Iranian citizens to join the military. And now the Iranians used to have the training, but now they don't have the training or the numbers. Now they have the numbers. Millions of troops on many fronts, as the Iranians will be pushing into Russia and start fighting Bulgaria in Russia. They will be able to push back Israel greatly. Almost reach their capital and actually take their capital before they're pushed out of there to keep a steady front line. They push into the Arabian Rebellion. Technical difficulties there. And they're also able to push back the fascist rebellion in Central Asia almost all the way back to the Purple Team border. They're also able to almost reach the Orange Team capital and pushing in and taking the Blue Team capital and the Pink Team capital and going in for the Yellow Team capital. They have the numbers, a lot of the numbers, as they will push back in the Purple Team as well, and also greatly in India. This is only after a few months of fighting. They went from almost collapsing to thriving, having probably the biggest country in the world. They also destroy Yemen and the Green Country, and also were able to take over this huge southern area of Israel. This will be known as the Great Push of Iran. Let's not worry about that, because now we're going to go to here, because Florida declares independence from Iberia. But not just Florida. This giant piece of a very important piece of Iberian colonies, and this is a very successful rebellion, and it is able to push all the way into Michigan and almost push up into this area. They will be able to go in, take over the Delmarva Peninsula, push into New Jersey, and almost take the capital of the region of this colony. The French, seeing this and knowing how successful the Iberians are, and before we talk about this, we're going to be looking at this because this happens. The Iberians are going to the French are going to offer the Iberians to take control of their colonies in order to beat the Red Team. Iberia is going to accept. And now they own a lot of territory around. Yeah, they own a lot of stuff. If I can color it all in correctly. Dude. Like this. And now Iberia controls all of South America, almost all North America and almost all of Africa. With all these Iberian troops arriving, the Purple Team and Bulgaria are pushed all the way out of their territories, and Israel is pushed back to the Suez. And now Iberia controls all of Africa, and the French, using these new troops that are not trying to defend against everything, are able to push back, and the British, the Irish are also able to push back, and they're able to get really close and surround the capital of the Red Team. And the French country is taking over almost all of modern day France. Okay. And the Blue Team is also able to push back into their old areas, their rightful areas that the Bulgarians took from them, and now they've been pushed back to here. Yeah. This great push of Iran over here, it was only temporary. Yeah. And the troops realize why are we fighting for this? We're just gonna be tortured after this war because the Iranians aren't really doing too good things. Maybe partially because of, if I can find the layer, of this ideology called dictatorship they have here. And with this, many of the troops will quit. Many of them. And many will even rebel, like the Arabian Rebellion. This time, it's not stopped. And the Israelis are pushing back in the Arabian area. And the Russians, they are able to push back to here. And the Fascist Rebellion is also able to push back in Central Asia. Wait, let me make sure I have the right layer on. Yep, I do. And push them back over all the way to here. The Orange Country, before the Iranians can take the capital, they will be able to push them back to here. The Yellow Team, again, will be pushing back the Iranians. And the Green Team, again, taking the Blue Team, occupying the Blue Team capital. Let me make sure that's actually the right capital if I'm actually knowing. Yeah, Blue Team, dark Blue Team capital there. Like that. And, well, the Chinese are actually able to push back in this front of another big sweeping motion. Now the Chinese are mainly focusing down south. But this is going to cause the Yellow Team to push back more up north. Like this. But let's check back on Project Annihilation. If I can make sure I have the right layer. Wrong layer. What layer is that? I don't know. Yeah, it's capital layer. Let me get the right layer this time. Because now, the Red Team has 7 nuclear bombs ready for disposal at any time. They're almost done the 8th and 9th, and they're starting the 10th. Yeah. If we go back to this front here, the wrong color, Bulgarians are able to push back, being pushed back over here, like this. Yeah. And now, it is time for greatness to come back. After many, many years, hundreds of years of being off the map, seeing how horrible this world has become, with radical idealization, dictatorships, colonialism, everywhere. Once formed by the friendship of 2 very old nations, once a union, the best union, you would say, some could say. After hundreds of years being off the map, the Mediterranean Union rebels away from Iberia and France. Yes, Mediterranean Union troops are able to push into Catalonia, which is going to help with Corsica being captured by the Purple Team. The Purple Team is also able, with help from the Mediterranean Union, to take this island, but the Mediterranean Union takes it. And now, time for the push of France. The Red Team is pushing into France, and as a capital isn't surrounded anymore, and they make their landing in the British Isles. This time, it goes successfully as they take out this area, this whole southern area of the British Isles. After many years of not ruling this thing, they claim rightful rule of the British Isles. Well, if I can find the map, rightfully so. We can see the British Isles and Ireland is fully red religion, except for the small orange bit over here. They want full control over the red religion. Like that, yeah. Which might be a little hard with the blue team, but still, yeah. With this, they will be able to push all the way up and take the British Isles. And now Ireland is pushed back to just the island and is in purely defensive, not offensive anymore. Yeah. If we go back to the Indian front, this happens as Iran is pushed back greatly. Then the Arabian Rebellion takes Iberian colonies. And this thing declares independence again. And this thing isn't being taken down. This is the strongest rebellion to ever come from a country. They take the New York, and this American rebellion can't be stopped. The Iberians are mainly focused on taking out their biggest threat, one of their biggest enemies, even though they didn't even exist during their time, the Mediterranean Union. As Mediterranean Union troops will push in to Iberia, and they will also be able to push into the purple team, like this. Yeah. If we go over to this front, the purple team, the other purple team, one of the other purple teams, is pushing back all the way to here like this. And Iran's push for greatness has been pushed back completely. That is an event, I would say. Yeah. Now it's time to look at South America. Because South America, the whole continent of South America, declares independence from Iberia. Yes, the whole continent. Never has an entire continent declared independence from a singular country. With South Iberian troops pushing into South America, having to get away from the American rebellion to finish this because they see this as more of a threat. If the entire continent can rebel, they see that if an entire continent can rebel away from them, free from invasion, then that might potentially cause other continents like Africa to declare independence. And with the troops moving out of this area is cut off. This rebellion in the Americas is impossible to stop. The Iberians are starting to collapse. And this area falls because millions of troops are being pushed back out of this area, and millions of troops are being pushed back to the Caribbean islands as these rebellions push the Iberian troops and surround them in Cuba. The invasion of Cuba begins. As hundreds of thousands of troops will push into Cuba, the Iberian troops here are going on purely offensive. And eventually, after months of fighting in this one area, all of these troops will surrender. And this will also cause all of the North American colonies to surrender. The colonies of North America, after a couple years, are now fully controlled by rebellion. And even worse for the Iberians. The entire southern part of the continent of Africa will be declaring independence. But not Madagascar, though. But Madagascar will be taken, though. And this is a big threat for the Iberians, as the Iberians are not doing so well. But now we'll check back on Project Annihilation. Make sure the right layer. write the new number. 10 nuclear bombs. Yes, the red team now fully has 10 nuclear bombs. Yep, that's a big threat, but the world doesn't know about it, so yeah, it's totally fine. And France is being pushed back again. And nope, not like that. The red team doesn't push into the Mediterranean Union, but the blue team pushes into Rome, as Rome is collapsing too, as they haven't had all their colonies ever since for a while, yeah. But then, one day, on a very hot day in the late 1940s, the red team capital is taken by France. This sets off alarms in the red team, as the red team is going to launch their nuclear bombs. It makes it so they only have 3 left. But what countries could they possibly have launched these nuclear bombs on? Ireland, France, Iberia, Rome, Bulgaria, Israel, and probably one of the biggest ones of all, Iran. 7 nuclear bombs have been launched. Project Annihilation has been complete. And now it's time for the great pushback of the red team. The red team will be pushing in, taking the French capital, and making a deal with the Mediterranean Union to make the lines look something like this. And now it's time to see the final breaths of Iran. It's time to take off the Alliance light. Oh, and by the way, this is like I don't know how many times recording this thing. Yeah, the reason, if you're wondering why this video has taken so long to come out, it's because it's like the 4th time recording this thing. In fact, I haven't had to recreate it because I was worried that that it would so I copied the layers, and this is the 4th one, 3rd or 4th. And Russian troops will be pushing into Iran, and Israeli troops will be up to here before the nuclear bomb lands. And the front lines will look like this the day the nuclear bomb lands. And now, fascist rebellions will push greatly into Iran, as troops from all sides will be pushing in. The green team takes a bunch of territory, and so will the purple team here, and also the pink team will take all these areas. And then a big event happens. All of these areas here in Iran will declare independence from Iran, as Russian troops will continue to push in and spearhead towards the capital. So will the fascist troops and the rebel troops, like this. And now the battle for the Iranian capital begins, as millions of troops will go in to surround the destroyed Iranian capital, and all of these countries will be pushing in. And then, eventually, after months of fighting, the Iranian capital is taken by the fascist rebellion, and the Iran surrenders, kicking Iran out of this war. And now, this time to finish this area here in East Asia. East Asia has been pushed back greatly, but after months and more months of pushing back, a stalemate is occurred, and the stalemate will make and both sides will sign a ceasefire. Well, that ends the Central Asian front, the East Asian front, I mean. Time to finally look at these areas, as all of these Iberian colonies, all of the Iberian colonies here will declare independence away from Iberia. All of them. And also, Israel. Israel loses their capital and then unconditionally surrenders. And so will Bulgaria and Turkey. In Turkey. And now, Russian troops are greatly pushing in to Bulgaria as they take the Bulgarian capital, and the blue team takes a bunch of territory here. The blue team will be in charge of occupying all this territory because now it's finally time. The final battle. The battle for Rome. As the Mediterranean Union pushes into Rome and takes all of these areas, and the blue team, with many millions of Russian troops and also red team troops, the rebellions will also be able to push up. And again, the final battle for Rome begins as all of these countries will push in to Rome. The Mediterranean Union will be the first to act, as they will surround the areas, and the blue team will be able to kick them out of the water. There. Yeah. And as all of these troops will come in, the Mediterranean Union is the first to reach the capital. A couple minutes later, the rebellions do, and finally, the blue team reaches the capital of the Roman team as the capital is taken and Rome surrenders. This happened one day after the ceasefire and peace treaty between the East Asian Front. And with Rome's surrender, that officially ends World War II. Oh, forgot about one thing. Iberia. That does not officially end it. Iberia does. And now, Mediterranean troops, Union troops will be pushed in. We can take off the Alliance layer. And rebellions will be taking over all this area. And after just one more month of fighting in Iberia will surrender over to the Alliance and everybody. And this will officially end World War II. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. See you in the next episode where we will look at the peace treaty of World War II. Bye!